Today's episode is brought to you by Conair for Men. Like my watts per kg has just gone through the roof this morning. Holy moly, what a morning! I gotta weigh in, see what we're at now. Alrighty, we'll check in from the long run today. Alright, here we are. We're about 21k in to this morning's long run. It'll be a 2-hour total long run. Just steady endurance. If I'm feeling good, I'll add some speed in on the end. Right now, I'm just really trying to avoid doing 2 new stresses at once. So once I feel like I have the endurance down and the fitness is there, so that the length of the run is in a separate variable, then I'll start adding some speed into these long runs. It could be today. Right now we're feeling good, so in about 20 minutes we might crank it up and get it going. So in terms of what we're fueling with on these long runs, I said that now that first race of the season's been announced, getting serious about my nutrition. So on this long run, I'm using Science and Sport gels, and so far they're going real well. Like I said, energy levels are real good right now. For me, the big selling feature about them is that they're isotonic gels, which means you don't have to take it with water. And for me, I rarely take water. Well, I never take water on runs, really, no matter how long it is. It's just, I hate carrying a bottle with me. So being the fact that you don't have to take it with water was a big selling feature for me. The taste isn't phenomenal. It's very light and kind of tastes like maltodextrin-y, if you know what I mean. What is good about them is that they're very liquidy, which is what I want when in terms of running gels. I don't want something that's really kind of thick, and that's kind of like how Power Bar gels were, which is why I loved those, but they no longer, I think they're out of business. I don't know what's going on with them, but so far they're good. So we'll catch back inside and I'll show you how I've been fueling on the bike this last little while. Alrighty, so that's the long run all done. So that was 28.6 in 2 hours flat. So averaged 412 per kilometer, and actually was a negative split. So that's always a good feeling on long runs. I was feeling good enough that I gave it a little bit of a nudge for 4 kilometers near the end. Not like crazy fast, but the beauty is that I didn't have to go fast to get the effort that I wanted, because the way that I do this route, these long run routes, is that the second half is completely uphill and into the wind, usually into the wind, which it was today. The wind was pretty strong coming from the west here. So it was uphill into the wind, and then I gave it a little bit of an effort on top of that. So it ended up being a good intensity without like blazing fast, having to like really stretch the legs out to crazy fast speeds. But I got the effort regardless, and that's what I wanted. Like I said, I didn't want to do 2 new stresses. I don't want to have 2 new stresses of having the endurance and the speed going at the same time. So I was waiting for these last few weeks until I felt like the endurance was to the point that I can handle some speed on top of it on these long runs, because I like building speed into my long runs. So yeah, like I was waiting. Like last week, I felt like the last 20 minutes or so I was fading a little bit in terms of just my overall feeling. Like my legs were feeling kind of getting to that point, which means to me that the endurance wasn't quite yet there. This week though, with about 30 minutes left, the legs felt perfectly fresh. Or not perfectly fresh, but reasonably fresh, and felt like they can handle putting a little bit of speed on. So ended up doing it, and it turned out well. Anyways, and the fueling was very good. So like I said, using the Science and Sports gels here, overall they go down really easy because they are very they're very liquidy, they're watery. And it's good so you don't have to take any water with you. I'd say the flavor I could use a little bit sweeter. It's a little bland kind of tasting. It's just not that sweet, which might be good if you were exclusively using them, because you don't want something super sweet. You know, if you're taking them over and over and over, you want something like that. And the consistency, like I said, most of all, that's kind of the most important thing. It's just very liquidy, which is what I want. I don't want something that's very thick, if that's going to be my kind of running fuel. My only criticism really on it would be the packaging. It's a nice small thing, but keep in mind, or what I found at least, is actually the top was actually kind of difficult to tear off with your, just to yank it off like that. So that was a little tough, and that to me, I got to say, that's a problem. That's not a little bit of a oh, you know, if something could be better, this is what I would want. It's a problem. I need to be able to access the gel, especially if you were using that on the bike. I don't want to be yanking away on a gel for a couple minutes trying to get after it. I want to be able to rip it nice and quick. But anyway, so we'll catch back inside in just a little bit. I'm just going to do some lifting right now, and then a short little bike, and then I'll show you just how I'm fueling on the bike. Just going to show you kind of the full cast of characters in terms of my nutrition. I showed you told you on the run that I've been using the Science and Sports isotonic gels, so I'm feeling very good with them. They go down very easy. I did 3 of them this morning on the run over the 2 hours. I did every 30 minutes. 0 GI issues throughout, and the consistency is really nice, that you can get it down really quickly because it's so kind of fluid, but then it's not kind of like sticking around and coating your mouth like some other gels do. I've tried every gel there is under the sun, for sure, like going back to running days and stuff like that, when liquid nutrition wasn't something that as a runner I even really ever thought about doing. It was all gels, exclusively gels. So I was doing like Goo gels, Hammer gels, Clif gels, all sorts of them. Besides the Power Bar gels, these guys are the best consistency that I've tried since then. Like I said before, it's unfortunate the Power Bar is just gone, because they were the best in my opinion. But I mean, the Clif gels, for example, I find just way too, they're so thick. It's hard to get it out of the package because it's so thick. Like you're having to curl, you know, when you're doing that, you're kind of almost like a toothpaste. You're curling it out, trying to get it out, and then the other, it sticks all on your cheeks, and it's this one is liquid. It just goes, you just squeeze it and takes it all in one gulp pretty much. So consistency wise, they're a big win for me. And also, like I said, the big selling feature for me was the fact that it's isotonic, meaning I don't need to take it with water. And like I said, that's a big thing for me, because on these runs, unlike this morning where I had my dad come along with me, which was great to have him along, from majority of my runs where I'm on my own and I don't have somebody to potentially hold a water bottle for me, I don't like taking a water bottle, because I can't stand holding something in my arm. Or I've tried belts and stuff before, and I never used them because they just chafe like crazy, and I hate the way, I cannot stand the way it makes you feel when you're running and you have something sloshing around on your waist. It feels awful to me. Anyways, so these are a big win overall in terms of performance. And like I said, post-run I felt good enough that normally, like last weekend for example, when I came in from that long run, I was pretty much not dead tired, but I was I don't want to go bike right now. There's no way. So I ended up just pretty much having lunch and then biking and doing my weightlifting session later. This morning I felt good enough when I came inside to say, yeah, you know what, I'm going to hammer out the bike. Hammer out. It was a dead easy bike. But I'll do the bike and weightlifting now, and then I'll be done for the day and be able to relax and rest up. Good, because Training Peaks says my form is negative 56. And it says, your body may need extra rest today. And I'm like, yeah, probably. But anyway, so gels are very good, and I'm liking them so far. If the performance is good, I can look past the fact that the flavors, to me, aren't, phenomenal. Nothing's ever going to beat those double latte. That's what it was, double latte. Can't even remember. It's been so long. The Power Bar gels with the coffee flavor, man, they were good. nothing will ever come close. So I'll take 3 of these along for a 70.3 with me. They're 22 grams of carbohydrate each. So 3 of them for, let's say, an hour and 15 minute or whatever, somewhere in that range will get me around 60 grams an hour on the run, which is, that's good. That'll be good enough. So that's my run covered. In terms of the bike, this year I'm trying out Tailwind Nutrition. It's a liquid, so it's a liquid nutrition, just like kind of Infinite or any of those guys. What made me pick Tailwind versus some of those other ones, Infinite I found was like ridiculously sweet. And last year I did Gatorade Performance, or Gatorade Endurance, sorry. And the Gatorade Endurance, I just had to concentrate so much into the bottles that it just, again, was just so ridiculously sweet. Here I'm complaining about the lack of sweetness here, but with those, it was just like, you almost couldn't drink it. When you put like 7 scoops of Gatorade Endurance into a bottle, it was almost undrinkable. So the Tailwind I got because from reading, doing my research on it, I found out that it's very light flavor. So I picked it up and I'm really impressed with it so far. Like I could put 3 scoops. I did 3 scoops of it in a bottle 2 days ago, and it wasn't that sweet at all. So it's a very light flavor, but like a good amount of sweetness where you feel like you're getting some sugar. But it wasn't like it wasn't too sweet where you're like cloyingly sweet, right? So it was very good for that. The other thing that I like about it, and the reason I got it, is that it's a dual source of carbohydrate. So it's a 2-to-1 of glucose and fructose in it. With two different sources, there's 2 different carriers that can be used to absorb it. So therefore, you're going to get more carbohydrate in the end, or absorb more carbohydrate in the end. So that was the other reason I got it. And the other thing with it is it's got caffeine in it, which I'm a big fan of. So for the bike, I'll end up doing 3 scoops per bottle, and I'll do 2 bottles. That'll put me at it's one scoop is 100 calories, so it's 25 grams a scoop, and so that'll put me at 75 grams on the bike. And then whatever I get at aid stations and stuff like that will bump that number up to about 90 to 100 in that range, depending on what I get at, how much I'm able to take from the aid station. So that'll be the bike covered. And actually the other reason I got it is I liked the electrolyte profile on it. Per scoop, it's got 330 milligrams of sodium in it, which means if I do 3 scoops, that'll put you up to about 990, put you up to 1,000 milligrams. So I like the electrolyte profile on it. It kind of ticks all the boxes in terms of both fueling with the dual source of carbohydrate, and then also in terms of electrolyte having a good high sodium content. Since you can see a lot of nutrition products out there, in terms of the drink mixes and stuff like that, from doing research on them, some of them got like 100 milligrams of sodium per scoop, and you're like, so I'm having to add salt tablets into that? I don't want to have to carry like a salt tablet and chews and this and that and the other and a billion things in order to get my nutrition. With the Tailwind, I feel if I do 3 scoops of Tailwind per bottle, then all of my boxes are ticked between carbohydrate and electrolyte. And then in terms of training and shorter training rides, and also leading up to some of these races this year, in the day leading up to it, the day before, the day of, and afterwards, what I'll be using this year as well is SOS. SOS is basically just like a super electrolyte little package. So it comes in little single servings like this. So each package is like a crazy amount of electrolytes. Apparently it's got the same kind of concentration of electrolytes, or profile of electrolytes, that a IV bag has in it. And I tried this out a couple times this week so far, and I gotta say it tastes amazing. I got the coconut flavor. I think it must be real coconut in it, because as soon as you open the package, it smelled like coconut water. And so it was a great flavor. Also very light tasting, so also very good flavor. So that'll be kind of my hydration for shorter training rides. I'd say less than about 75 minutes, where I don't really need carbohydrate for. I'll be doing the SOS because I'm sweating so much in the basement. You still need some electrolyte. So yeah, the gels will be my kind of nutrition on runs. Tailwind will be nutrition on the bike. SOS will be my nutrition on shorter training rides, less than 75 minutes. And the days and hours leading up to the race, I'll be hitting up SOS for my electrolytes to keep them topped up, especially with some of these races being in some hotter climates. It'll be important to stay on top of it, and actually it'll be important post-race as well to have one of these guys. Will be helpful since that'll boost my recovery, and I'll be able to get back to training and race again afterwards, because there'll be a couple occasions throughout the year this year where I'll be racing on back-to-back weekends, so it'll be important to maximize my recovery post-race and really kind of accelerate the process. Anyways, so that's my nutrition. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow at 4 p.m.